Warrior. It has been a long day in New York City and a hot and humid one. But then again, depending where you are, it's probably hot and humid in your town. Therefore, I just came in from outside. I don't know when you'll be listening to this, but it is in the evening. I wanted to rush right to the computer and share something that's been on my mind all day. As I walked around the city, I was thinking I have to shed more light. I have to educate more about what is going on with hotels. Now, first of all, warning, warning, warning. I want everyone, and you out there, Warrior, to know everything we talk about on the Warriors is upsetting. It's not nice. But that's the point of the Warriors, to educate you, to give you stories, to give you take actions, to give you resources you are not getting in any other places, or you're not hearing these stories in the media. Let's start with Red Roof Inn. Are you familiar with that budget conscious motel / hotel across our great United States? Well, currently, lawsuits, 42 federal lawsuits were filed against them, with hundreds and hundreds of sex trafficking victims. I guess I'm supposed to say alleged sex trafficking victims, but come on now. I'm just going to say sex trafficking victims that for decades now, Red Roof Inns, 117 of them across the United States were named in particular, that catered as a whole network of sex trafficking houses. Now, we had testimony from different victims. Many of them that are now women came forward. They were children at the time, young teens. And now they're coming forward to relay to us this horror, this abuse of what they endured, where they would have to see 8 to 12 men a day. Now, the basis of the lawsuits, they're all kind of the same. I'm paraphrasing here. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Is that Red Roof Inn, 117 of them were identified, especially 2 in the Atlanta area, where everybody knew, including front desk, including housekeeping, men were coming and going 24 hours a day. Traffickers, pimps would move in for 2 weeks, sometimes at a time. One of the tactics of these criminals is they disorient those that are trafficked by moving them around the country. So think about this. And if you go to my Twitter, X, I posted the story of Red Roof Inn. You will see the map of the United States and all the little red dots indicating where this was occurring. Probably more Red Roof Inns, but this is where they have 117 of them documented. And look at the map. So perhaps did they move them from one location complicit with Red Roof Inn across our country? Again, I don't know. I'm surmising. This is my opinion. But interestingly enough, as the trial started recently, and one after the other of these victims would get up and relay, and they all had the same stories, that they knew they were in plain sight, and housekeeping had to clean up. It's a family show, so I don't want to get too graphic. Everybody knew what was going on. I know what I think when I hear that. A lot of people complicit in this web of predation. But going back as far as we have cases 2010. So if we started hearing about it from then, you know it all started earlier. Interestingly enough, as one victim after the other took the stand, Red Roof said, we're going to settle. We're going to start settling, at least with the 2 in Atlanta that were considered the hub of the operations. What I want to point out about all of this, hotels, motels, motor inns, whatever you want to call these places, 80% of sex trafficking happens in these establishments. 80%. You know what's higher if I tell you 80%, that's the stats. Right under our noses, in our faces. Again, how many are complicit? You have hotel employees, you have cleaning crews, you have security. Why? Why is this allowed? We don't talk about it a lot. We're going to start talking about it here on the Warriors. We have to be on the lookout. You have to know. Now, getting back to Red Roof, these now women said they, when they were girls and as documented, malnourished, and obviously children and teens, guests didn't say anything. What would you do if you saw something like this? And Red Roof, remember, it's called a budget-friendly kind of motel. I don't care what it's called. I have seen red roofs across our country all over the place. What would you do? Well, first I'm going to point out hotel chains, because there was another lawsuit with a very big chain. I'll have more information in the body of this video, and they settled. Have to have mandatory human trafficking training for all employees. Now, that's not even good enough because a lot of hotels are doing that, but those would be considered more of the better hotels. What is slipping by the wayside in these other motels along the highways or in towns out of the way? Because those are usually the places, these pimps and traffickers are not going, to the 4- and 5-star hotels. They are going to these out of the way side of the highway type places. What would you do? I think everybody in 2024 has a duty, especially we are in the summer months where more people travel, more people are staying at hotels and motels, to be on the lookout. The first thing you would do is report it to the front desk. Now, you may be nervous. You may want to be anonymous. So I would suggest then please call 911. And you think you are seeing something that does not sit right with you. You think, and the signs are so obvious. You have to read all these stories about Red Roof. Again, that'll be on my ex at Lynn's Warriors. Nobody did anything for all these years until recently. And the fact that Red Roof is settling now, the 2 big cases out of court, that tells me something. Does it tell you something? What would you do? Again, you will call 911 if you do not want to approach anybody at the front desk. And normally it's like some local who works at the front desk at these places. And you might want to call 911. Then you also have to keep handy, all of us right now, in our phones, the National Human Trafficking Hotline. First 911, then the 1-888-373-7888 number, and report. Trafficking happens fast. I just told you they move victims from place to place. They may be in the process of moving. You have to report immediately, okay? This is a national emergency. I want everybody to be a warrior. I want everybody to be on the lookout as you're in hotels, motels. If you see something you don't think is right, you are not held responsible. You are to report it. It is our duty. We have to protect our children. That Red Roof was allowed to get away with this for so long. 117 Red Roof inns were identified as being hubs for trafficking. Now they're settling out of court. There are hundreds of victims that have come forward. Can you imagine those who have not come forward? Nobody wants their child. Think about this. All of these children at the time, or all of these women at the time, they're somebody's baby. It's up to each and every one of us to get involved. Be on the lookout. Hotels, 80% of sex trafficking is happening at hotels and motels across the United States, right under our noses. Yet few are doing anything. So be that warrior. Remember, community creates change. Now go out and be a warrior.